Welcome, everyone, to WWTA News. Here we look at crypto, finance, and economic news. I'm your host, EB, and thank you for joining us.
All right, got another article. This one I just want to dig into and just share because I've been hearing a lot of conversations on YouTube and different articles and forums. People are a little upset about what's going on and not taking sides, but I do want to share the article. It says Democrats' tax plan makes baby steps toward racial wealth equity. And this is an article from Denista Sakova, I believe. I hope I didn't butcher that. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article and see if this sheds light to everybody out there keeping up with it. So by lifting up families at the bottom through tax credits and taxing affluent households more, Democrats can help narrow the racial wealth gap. House Democrats proposed increasing the top income tax rate and the long-term capital gains rate, among other proposals, which hit high-income households that were disproportionately white. The expansion of the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit, among other credits, would reach a larger share of the Hispanic and Black population, helping to narrow the wealth gap between those two groups and white Americans, according to Davis. Expanding the child tax credit would be a transformational change. The proposal that would have the biggest impact on narrowing the racial wealth gap would be the extension of the expanded child tax credit through 2025, which is part of the House Ways and Means Committee plan. Right now, the expansion is scheduled to expire after this tax year. Nearly half of Black children, 48%, and almost half of Hispanic children, 46%, live in families that were previously considered by federal tax law to be too poor to qualify for the full credit, according to estimates by ITEP. Under the Democrats' proposal, the full credit would be extended to allow those families to continue getting the credit. Additionally, the larger credit amount would continue. Additionally, the American Rescue Plan made the EITC fully refundable, in turn reaching more Black and Hispanic families, and extended the credit to workers without children at home. That's a benefit geared towards low-wage workers, and unfortunately, with the racial disparities in this country, people of color are more likely to be low-wage workers, Davis said. As long as the disparity continues, the EITC will be helpful in boosting the financial security of people of color. Democrats' tax plan targets wealthy, largely white households. House Democrats also want to raise the top long-term capital gains and qualified dividends tax rate to 25% from 20%. Only a fraction of assets subject to that tax are owned by Black or Hispanic families, meaning the higher tax rate would hit wealthier white households. White households own 89% of the assets that would be subject to such tax, while Black and Hispanic households own 1.3% and 0.8% respectively. Democrats plan to revert the top individual income tax rate to 39.6% from 37% and impose a 3% surtax on individuals with an adjusted gross income of more than $5 million. Also, target more affluent families that are disproportionately white, according to Davis. Last, the House Democrats' proposal includes hiking the corporate tax rate to 26.5% from 21%. Could also aid in shrinking the racial wealth gap, according to Davis. The tax hike would hit families that own corporate stock, which are overwhelmingly white. Biden's original plan included repealing the step-up basis, which allows heirs to pay capital gains based on the price of the assets when it was inherited rather than when it was originally acquired. The provision is not in the latest version of the plan introduced by the House Ways and Means Committee. You have these gains being passed along from one generation to the next, solidifying intergenerational inequality, Davis said. Biden also had proposed increasing the capital gains rate to 39.6% rather than the Democrats' proposal of 25%. They're pretty incremental reforms, he said. They were very much put out there with an aim toward being as politically palatable as possible. All right, so that concludes that article. The most of the stuff I got out of there without all the extra blip, 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 blips. But those are the major points in that article. I wanted to look at this. This debtclock.org, looking at the U.S. assets. I don't know. I'm just going to share it, and you all look at it and you do what you do in your own head and figure it out. I don't know, but I just wanted to share this. So it says small business assets value in at 14 trillion. Okay, small businesses, they're holding in the United States, they're holding about $14 trillion worth of assets. Corporation assets, they're about 18 trillion. Household assets in the United States is about 166 trillion. Okay, it's actually over 166 trillion dollars worth of assets. That leaves the total national assets coming in at 199 trillion. So, I mean, when we talk about the debt of the United States, even with interest, it's like 87 trillion, I believe, 86, 87. In the United States, between corporations, small businesses, and definitely with the U.S. citizens, there's $199 trillion worth of value. It says here assets per citizen equate to around 598,000. All right. I'm going to say I'm not one of those people holding $598,000. I'm not. I don't own a house. All right. So there, I know some people own homes, and that equates to their assets because a home is an asset. A home can increase in value, appreciate, and it can also depreciate. It's on you to stay on top of those things to make sure that you know what you're doing as far as your finances. But a home can appreciate in value. Most cars, when you buy cars, they are automatically depreciating the moment you take them off the car lot. So I don't consider cars as assets. When we look at assets, there's other things we consider assets. Property, okay? Now, you can have, this doesn't need to be small business or corporations, even though they do own properties, but common people, right, own properties, and those are assets to them, okay? So when we discuss assets, as we're looking here at U.S. assets, and you see the small businesses are at 14 trillion, corporations are at 18 trillion, and households are at 166 trillion. I don't know. And I'm not even going to play devil's advocate. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to let you, the viewer, view and try to understand what's going on yourself. I just showed you an article. I'm not taking any side on that article. I just showed it. You got to look at it, figure it out on your own, think about it, determine, find your own information, find your own resources. But with all that, I'm just sharing the basic information. It'll be on you to figure out the rest.
Thank you for joining us at WWTA News. If you enjoyed our video, please hit the subscribe and like button, and join us next time to follow the news in crypto, finance, and economics.